And the visualization and the vocabulary of those words. Al, I'm going to turn that over to you because we do underestimate the capacity of the young people we work with. Um,
I just want to deal with something that Kim said there. And Kim, every time I come on with you, I learn something. In fact, every time I come on with all of you, I learn a lot. And but what I do with sometimes with when we teach little breakouts to begin with, we'll send two kids in, two defensemen in from the blue line, and a puck is thrown into the corner or whatever, and they go back. Now, and then they know how to go back. They have to go back full speed and they have to shoulder check and that. So when they go back, if they don't do it, you blow the whistle, and you say, what happened there? Oh, one of them will say, I didn't go full speed. And I said, well, why do you go full speed? Because you want to see where you want to create time and space. And what's that mean? It means you get more time to make a play and more room to do it. And they know the answer. And then they win again, and all of a sudden I blow the whistle again, and I said, what happened there? Oh, I didn't shoulder check. And why do you shoulder check? I shoulder check to see where my support is, and where the pressure is. And what's that mean? Support means my own teammate who I can pass to, and the pressure is the other team coming at us. And we involve the goalie and all that stuff as well. We don't stay at it too long at a time, but when we get into the classroom, then we go over that again, and they teach it, and they understand why they do something, and it becomes a habit, and they're going to develop habits one way or the other, and it can be good or bad. And it's hard to break a 13-year-old when they don't know how to do an open mohawk turn, because it's in their brain now, and so it has to be taught young. And so the other question, Wally, was that you might, oh yeah, so I give them big words, and I'll give them a big word like triangulation, and what's that mean? Well, I said, go home and Google it, and or ask your parents or whatever, and come back. And so all of a sudden, the next day they come back, and it's triangle, coach, it's triangle. And what's a triangle mean in hockey? And then we might show them do a triangulation drill, and they understand then how it fits into the game. Because people say, well, you teach that when they're 13 or 14, you teach skating and stuff. Why can't you teach them all together? Because they're brilliant and they remember things. I got a 2.5-year-old grandson, and he knows his way around my iPhone. And so they're brilliant, and they can. And so you can teach the whole person, and then you're teaching communication skills in the classroom. You're teaching, who's the most important person on the ice. Well, they say it's your teammate. They understand it young, and it develops understanding and respect for their teammates, and all those things are taught right through. Because you can get the best hockey player in the world, and they end up in jail. You're not gonna be very productive for them. And so you teach good things, and I don't. If they're up doing something at a board at the classroom, if they're up explaining a drill, I would never say, well, that's wrong. I'd say, well, that's certainly one way of doing it. Or if they're missing a component, does anybody want to help them? And somebody will come up and help them, and uh, and they all of a sudden they're learning to communicate within a group, and feel good about it. And we usually have these seminars on the first of the week on Sunday. We don't now as well because of time, but uh, I asked a 9-year-old to get up and speak to the group of parents and kids, and no problem. He got up and spoke for 10 minutes, and what he said was pretty sensible. I didn't warn him I was going to ask him. I just asked him to get up, and he did. He had no fear, and if they can get over that young, it means so much to them educationally as well. And I'd say things like, another big word would be think and sync. What's that mean? Well, they probably don't know. And so I said, well, what's a sync you think is short for? And they have to go home and figure it out and come back and tell me, well, it's synchronization. And just like swimmers, synchronized swimming, they all do it together. And so we have to think as a team. and they can understand that at 7, 8, 9 years old. And so that's the approach I've used. But I was a elementary teacher, school phys ed teacher for 4 or 5 years in Charlottetown years ago, and I got to know, I got to understand that age group really well. And all we had was round balls and a hoop and a skipping rope, and so we had to be innovative. But we had fun, and if they have fun, and sometimes you got to realize that they have a certain time with attention span, you got to move on. And I guess I'm rambling, but uh, I hope that answers the question.
But it leads to more questions. Al, uh, I don't know, but all I can think of is Sidney Crosby when you're talking.
Well,
And
Sydney always came to work, and he was respectful, and he stayed over there. We were at Slemon Park at the time, and he stayed over, and he'd stay over, and he'd go through the whole day. If he was taken to school, and then when he's demonstrating, he's now working, so he's on payroll of some sort, and so he'd go home at supper time and go to bed. And I didn't know because I wasn't living on close by. But at 10 o'clock, the staff would go on to play hockey, and Sydney would go out with them. And Cassie Campbell was involved in that. And so anyway, he'd get on the ice and play with them. And but he always wanted to learn. He wanted to learn. He wanted to work hard, and he was really easy to work with. He came down one time and stayed with Josh, my son, on the weekend, and they went picking strawberries, and he never picked strawberries before, and and they could. They don't mind if you eat one or two or three or four because they can't pick them all anyway. So I said, you can eat those. He said, He said, no, I want to eat them. So he picked and picked. And he was one of the best pickers in the field. And then he come home and for supper, I think we had spaghetti, and he had about three bowlfuls of strawberries. But he's sort of organized, and he thought different than most people. And he was funny. Like he enjoyed people, and there was a lot of people. Then like Brad Richards was there, working and training, and Drew McIntyre, and a lot of those. Clark McLean, Doug's son, was probably there at the same time. And so anyway, that's how he was, and he never forgot. Like he actually framed his demonstrator sweater and sent it to me a couple of years ago, and it's a beautiful sweater, and he had it autographed and everything, and he never forgets. And when kids come through our system, we don't bother them. We let them go and do their thing, and we never ask them for anything. But he sent me a lot of things to his parents because his sister came to take up goaltending as well when she was 10, and I used to see the parents a lot. And he dropped in. He's dropped in occasionally.
Al, I got a question for the everyone else that's on has had children. I've had a grandchild.